I'll put it that way. We're not experts. We're not financial advisors. This is like always, we give this disclosure because we want everybody to not go out and make investments based on what you may hear, but if you do hear anything that prompts you to do something, at least you have some type of clarity. This is all about clarity. Well, welcome, Ralph, and how are you today? And I
Uh,
like your army hat.
yeah, God bless Go Army. And
All
yeah,
right.
it's education only, no legal advice, and this is for your information so that you don't get scammed. So yeah, I'm
Exactly.
doing good. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad you're here. So yeah,
Mr.
back to
Rizzo.
you.
All right. Well, you started out earlier by discussing the topic about some young men who failed rental car business, took their show to Florida, and made a BTC coin. And what happened with that was it failed, basically. Am I wrong?
Well, I wouldn't say they probably didn't make enough money in rent-a-car business, and one of the guys whose name is Sam Sharma or Shorma or something like that, who fast forward is now in jail, he uh, saw what was happening in the crypto world in the ICOs. So yes, they ran their whatever it is ICO or initial coin offering there, and they ended up being prosecuted by the FBI. So
For
yes.
defrauding people or taking their money or just misappropriating it, not knowing what they were doing. And if you can explain, when somebody wants to start a crypto or a miner, blockchain, whatever it is there some requirements that they initially have to do to make it legit, or any filing, I mean, anybody, I'm going to set up a coin when we hang up. It's going to be called, um,
Reggie Coin.
yeah, the Reggie coin, guaranteed to guarantee. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
Your
What are
future.
they
Well,
doing, and how is it illegal of whatever they're doing? What
it's
did
a
they do illegal?
Reggie Coin that promises eternal youth, right? Yeah, well, let's do that. Time
Up to
machine.
100 years old.
One also time travel. We can do a
Right,
time travel
right.
coin. Oh,
Well,
and
let's
that
get
we.
right down to the issue. What did they do
Well, I like the
that
fact that you use the word miner and ICO and all that all
I
blended
want to
together.
learn?
Yeah,
We want
yeah,
to know. We
yeah.
want to know.
What did they do? They created a white paper, and
Okay.
the person named Sam Sharma. I listened to some of these co-conspirators, and one of them that turned state's evidence, and he said that this guy was a wizard at creating PDF files. So what he would do is create basically fake documents, and they set up a website probably based on their rent a car business. They knew how to set up websites, or they hired people on Fiverr, they said, freelancers. And of course, whenever things go wrong, they blame the freelancers. Oh, blame the freelancers, laugh out loud. It's horrible. But what did they do? They created a white paper, and also they must have listed it such that it was in the early days so that a lot of these ideas got listed, because right now if you create one you probably don't even get listed in these exchanges because they say, well, there's some due diligence now maybe, but back then there was no due diligence. So the answer to your question is there is no regulation. At least there wasn't at that point. They're trying with the FCC and spot Bitcoin and ETPs or ETFs, whatever you want to call them. There's more regulation. There's more lawsuits. It seems as if it's SEC regulation by lawsuit. So what they do is they look at what's happening. The SEC or the FBI, they work together probably, and they just sue. They sue you for violating. One of the things this Gary Gensler says over and over again is a security. The definition of security is an enterprise where people are promoting it and there's a profit motive. And it goes back to a court case in Florida about some guy had timeshares in Florida, and he also he grew oranges. And he said
Okay.
instead of well, I forget. I think they had a time. They had it was either one or the other. They could buy the timeshare, or they could buy a, a
That's
part of
Doris.
investment in the orange grove. And it turned out that they were selling them, intermixing them, and the government, the Supreme Court, I believe, decided that it is a security. What he was doing was a security. It was not a timeshare, and it was not a commodity. It wasn't property. It was a security.
So when
And
you say security, let me just interject. Security means what? Access. He had access to back up what he was offering.
well, good question. Security and commodity. See, I'm not an expert either, but this is
Right,
my
right,
understanding. The
right.
Securities
This
and
is where the
Exchange.
confusion is coming in, with people, not knowing
Oh,
how things
yes,
are set up
not
and
knowing
dropping their money
anything.
in.
Yeah,
Right.
not
Okay.
knowing anything.
Okay.
Security Exchange Commission. Gary Gensler is the chairman of the Security and Exchange Commission. And what does that mean? It's a commission, it's a body. I think it's a 5-person body that votes on things, and he's just the commissioner of that body. And he probably also has staff or something. He's obviously paid by the government. We can look up his salary and everything. But you asked security. What is a security? We'd have to look up the definition of that, because that's a
Okay.
result of that court case.
We'll leave that for your listeners to do that if they're not clear on.
Well, but I can
Because,
summarize my understanding is it has to do
correct.
with a for-profit enterprise where there's people promoting it, as opposed to what? And one of the things that you can compare it to is a commodity. A
Okay.
commodity is something like pig bellies, pork bellies, whatever it
Right.
is.
Something that is worth of has value
But a
and
commodity,
has. Okay.
yeah, but a commodity more than just has value, because manure, I guess manure has value too, but it doesn't promote itself. The pork bellies themselves don't promote. There's no body promoting. Maybe there is a dairy industry and things like that. But if you look at the dairy industry or the pork industry, the meat and dairy industry, I think they're nonprofits. You can't. It, I don't think there can be someone that is promoting broccoli. I think they have to do. So it's a. And the reason why this is important is because the Security and Exchange Commission
Right.
oversees securities, doesn't oversee commodities. I think there's a whole
Well,
nother
there is
body.
no commodities can be part of security. You know,
No,
you
no,
no. I stand to be corrected. Okay.
there's a
Well,
separate body that regulates commodities. I
I
forget
got
the
it. I
name of
see what
it, but
you
there's a
said.
commodities.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they're two separate things. And that's why this cryptocurrency industry is very confused, because we cannot clearly define what is Bitcoin. I
So
believe.
excuse me.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead. I got you. So let me do this to you. You said earlier that you are invested in crypto
Well,
through Fidelity.
through Fidelity, the spot
Oh, my
Bitcoin ETP. Yeah, yeah.
no,
They call it
because
ETF.
and it does give you the actual right to speak about it because you're in the game. Why did you go with Fidelity?
Well, I don't. It's a good question. Fidelity seems
Because
more
of what?
trustworthy than
Did you hear
than.
that, ladies and
Yeah, yeah,
gentlemen? Did you
yeah.
hear what he just said? Okay, so don't blame anyone outside of yourself because a new coin can hit the market, can have some, like you mentioned in the last conversation, that these guys tied themselves to a sports arena. And I know something about that because there was a group in another country, I think the Netherlands, wherever it was, the last great big Olympics, football. It was a soccer, but they call it football. And these guys got one advertisement opportunity and they set up a Bitcoin. They brought in millions of dollars. And at the end of all, when it was all said and done, it was a scheme.
Yeah, yeah.
They,
Scam.
they,
Yeah.
they try to go after the actual organizing committee that was in charge of FEMA football, whatever the hell it is, and they had no knowledge of what this guy was doing, but he had. They were very clever. He had some type of advertising, something he did there, and he just ran with it. Once he got on their brochure, whatever, on the stadium or one of these vendors, they just took it to another height, and it happened to be a fraudulent kind of situation.
Uh,
So people are trying to stream along with validity to what they're getting into. And it just seems like that's the dark spot of this whole crypto thing. Now I got my man Matt who gave us, he's a big time involved. And I guess he'll hear this and he'll have a lot to say about it because this currency could never work if you're gonna have these actors like this.
well, think about the U.S. dollar. People say, "Well, Bitcoin is used for fraud and money laundering." And what
Hiding
is?
money.
But yeah, but what is the biggest currency used for fraud and money laundering? The
Well,
U.S. dollar. The U.S.
well, here's
dollar.
the deal.
Like,
Here's the deal.
are you going to
Here's the
ban the
deal.
U.S. dollar?
I got $20 on me. I can go outside my door. And if I want that carton of milk or those eggs, I'm going to have to give them something to get it.
Yeah, but it happened
I'm
over
using a
time.
dollar or I'll go in with a Bitcoin. Hey, do you take Bitcoin? Unfortunately, excuse me, I don't. But see, Brooklyn does. They did something. So that's the whole thing. Your
Wait.
company,
See, Brooklyn will take Bitcoin.
yeah,
What?
I bought a shirt out of there through some kind of little thing they did. It was
But how
cute.
did you get Bitcoin? It's
Well,
not. It's not
basically,
simple to get.
me and you were talking about this before, where they set me up a Robinhood account or something. I don't know what it is.
Oh, yeah. I have a Robinhood account too.
There it is, right there. You can see it. You can see my account right there. It
Yeah.
says
Don't
it
go
has the
overboard.
rainbow. It has the rainbow,
Yeah.
and there it is. You can see it.
So yeah, don't show it to everybody, but yeah,
I don't give a
yeah,
shit.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I got? I
yeah,
got inside that account. I have $1.
yeah.
No, but the shirt that I purchased, I got to show you this. It's like 2,946.01. I bought an exclusive shirt for like $100. There's the item. Oh, there's the camera up there. You
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
really see it,
Yeah, no, it's
but
glowing, so yeah.
I have the shirt here, and I got to talk to them because I could actually sell this shirt any given time. Because when I bought it, you could see the arrows going up. But all in all, I purchased something like they set up that account. I did $100 transfer into that account, and I was able to buy the shirt through that process. I think it was FTC, some whatever they call it.
It sounds like FTX, right? FT.
FTX, that's what I think it is.
Yeah, that's the guy who's in jail. You know where he is in? You know where
Where?
he's being held?
Yeah.
No, it's the Brooklyn Detention Center.
Oh, really?
His name is SFB or SBF, SBF, I think. Sam
I'm
Bankman
gonna
Fried.
if I can. I know that. I'm gonna send this to you if it can come. But what? Well, okay. So now we get into a point where you have three young men. One is turned state evidence turned against the guy. Why is, like I asked you earlier, the one guy that's in jail? He must have been the mastermind of it, or they
Yeah,
really want to lock somebody up. They really want. They got it. They got three guys. Why did they let the other guy go? Because he probably didn't have much involved. He didn't know. He was just probably a go along. But now you got it. When I, like I said to you, when I, before we got on, I Googled, I was trying to Google the young man that they just caught out there, and he's got a $90 million fraud. He's going to jail. He says sorry, and not a lot of time.
yeah. That's
Restitution, it could take him forever to pay
yeah.
that 34 million.
Or 90 million. And
Whatever it is.
the interesting thing about he said it, this man named Trapani said that it's 10% of his earnings. So he probably will be paying for the rest of his life 10% of his earnings because I
Well,
believe
it's
the
only so much, only so low they can something. So
right.
10% of his earning, if he's only making $700 a week, he's never going to pay that off.
Exactly. That's what I thought. He said he's going to go back to his construction job, uh, like he may. And if you're getting your income garnished, right, like this, right, you usually try to reduce your income, right?
No,
So
you
these,
don't. Well, I'm going to be. I have to make a deal, and I don't know if you reduce your income because you don't want to. If you listen, It's
Oh,
cost of living.
you know this
I know a
game,
little
right?
bit about this kind of shit. Like you
I don't
like
know, yeah.
like the DA. She's talking all of this about how she spends cash, how she does this, how she does that. I don't think the lady knows what she's really talking about. But
Which
all in all,
DA are you talking about? Which
in
DA?
Georgia, there's a case going
Oh,
on, and
the
it
Georgia, yeah.
all kind of bullshit. So let's get back to this now.
The answer to your question is the one guy did more. He's the one that faked the documents. He's the one on the cliff
Whoever
high.
created those documents, right?
Yeah, he created the fake documents. He probably was the one telling the freelancers, do this, do that. And then it's very disconcerting when you can read the chats, the text messages, and he'll say, "We'll just blame the freelancers," laugh out loud, as if that's isn't that crazy?
Well, what
That
what what we have here is we have an orchestrated fraud.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And let me ask you a question about a white paper. What does a white paper do? Is it supposed to convince someone?
Well,
Is it like a business plan? They call white paper. I think a white paper could be just like a business plan.
yeah,
I
yeah.
I mean,
If you look on tech stuff, white
uh-huh.
paper is usually the boiled
The-
down tech version. So it's
of a
one
business
that's
of a business plan.
of a business plan, or like the Google search has a white paper, and it's something that's supposed to be readable by the public. Just the
And
way, yeah, court
it's supposed
cases.
to be exactly what this product or this service stands for. No,
Yes, yes, it should be the proposal that
right.
it's almost
We
like
propose
this
to do this for the general public in good faith and good honesty, whatever.
offering plan, just like I think they call it offering plan for a co-op or a condo. Right.
Anybody
Yeah.
that wants to invest in that dream.
Right. Right. What does
In
dream
that,
mean? What does dream?
no, I said dream. Like
Dream. Right. Right.
the dream.
Yeah.
D.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So going back to what I thought was disturbing, and we talked about it last time, but it didn't record right, is one of the things that they did was they set up a coin they called Centra coin,
Right.
and one of the things that really disturbed me was the man named Trapani goes on, he's still on YouTube videos saying what he did. And what he would do is called pump and dump. And maybe
That's what I was gonna.
they never
The word I
dumped.
was
I don't
looking
think they
for.
did the dump part. Yeah.
Well, they do
But
that in the pharmaceutical industry. They hype up a drug, hoping that this drug, if FCC approves this, so people want to get in early, and then they don't get the approval, and then it dumps.
but isn't but this one's even worse because he goes on, he remember they got investments, right? So they have ether. Ether is a type of cryptocurrency. And I am not sure of every single detail, but this is how he talks, and I'm just repeating what he says. Trapani is he goes in, and let's say the coin is selling for $2 a coin, right? And there
Right.
is no physical coin; it's all virtual, but they use the word coin. And he goes into these exchanges, which are centralized exchanges usually. Centralized just means everything is happening on somebody's
The ledger.
server.
Is it
Like,
on the ledger? Is it on the ledger?
well, here's the question. Yes, it depends on what blockchain they're talking about. I believe this was all done on the Ethereum blockchain, which is
Okay.
is somewhat more questionable but more programmable. And what they did, or he did personally, which he was very proud of, is he'd go on the centralized exchange, and the coin, their Centra Tech coin or Centra coin, I think they called it, would would be selling at $2 a coin. Well, what is their incentive? Their incentive is to get the coin worth as much as possible, right? So how do you drive the price up of anything, right?
You market it.
You market it, but
Magic.
this is even worse. Let's
Okay.
say you control the stock, the Apple stock, and you want the stock to go up, and you can control who's buying and who's selling. Let's say you have millions of dollars and you can control the actual exchange where things are happening, right?
How are they doing that? How are
Well,
they doing that?
he said that he found a dark web, and then he said, oh no, not dark web exchange that allowed him to put in an order. Remember, this is all done on the internet, and this
Right,
was,
right.
I think, before the Know Your Customer laws. So you could create many accounts on these exchanges, right? And you can create two. You know how you can have multiple internet accounts, right? So
Is he
he
doing that? Is he doing that to show that there's so many people interested in it, where really
absolutely.
not?
Yeah, absolutely. But even worse, he described that he would put the thing is selling at $2 a coin. He would put in a an ask of $2.50 a coin, meaning he's willing to sell at $2.50, right? But of course, there was offers in asks. They call it bid and ask. There were asks in at $2.01 or something like
Right.
that, right? Somebody was willing to buy at or willing to accept $2.01, but he wants the price higher. So he
Yeah.
says, "Look, I'm willing to sell at $2.50." Then on the other side, under a different account, I assume, because I think exchanges don't let you buy from yourself, he he went in on a different account and said, "Oh, there's a million shares or a million coins at $2.50. I'll buy that." Because he had the money. He had the money to do that, or the ether. At this point, it's ether cryptocurrency.
What is ether? What is
Ether
ether?
is
The
just
current.
another type of cryptocurrency. It's the one
Okay.
that's more programmable, a bit more programmable because it has a Solidity programming language. And so think of it as Bitcoin. You can just use it's actually a different one that the ledger is done in a completely different way through proof of stake versus proof of work, and there's validators that have to put up 32 ether. It's a whole different system, but let's um, think of it as just another cryptocurrency, right?
Right.
But
Okay.
the fundamental flaw.
But excuse me, but it has its own blockchain and its own ledger. No.
Yes, 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 it does,
Okay.
and it's something called EtherScan where you can
Okay.
verify. But it's not using proof of work; it's using proof of stake, and it's. But we have a whole nother show about that. But the question is, why in the world do the exchanges allow someone to buy from themselves, right? How do they not know? Because remember, when the exchanges first started, all you need was an email address or maybe even nothing. You
Well,
just
he's
can,
got a different email. He's got a different
yeah,
email and different alias, and he drove it up. He
yeah,
drove up his own coin
yeah,
through another mechanism.
yeah. Well, by fraud,
Show
by
purchase,
market manipulation.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Show purchase, and then now valued it at that high. And if anybody wanted to buy it, get in now. You're buying it at that 250, where it really was only worth two.
Oh, it wasn't worth anything.
No,
If the
but I'm
whole
just
thing
saying
was a
for the
fraud, yeah, the whole
right,
thing was a
for the
fraud.
sake of saying if there was anything worth, you know what I'm saying? It
Right,
was a
he's
fraud.
manipulating the price. If it was all a fraud, in the court case shows that it was. They said at the end they got it working, but that's way too late. You
Is
can't
that
say,
illegal what he did?
"Oh yes, yeah, that's why they're in jail." Yeah, that's why the guy's in jail. Yeah.
But if they're in jail and when they start these coins,
No, he
these
wasn't in
securities,
jail when he started
no,
the
no,
coin.
no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah, yeah,
When
yeah.
they come after them to put them in jail, and they started these coins, and then order for them to have the coin have some type of the validity. Is there any documentation from the FCC, from the Trading Commission, from
N-
any financial institution that would allow someone to say we're going to be exchanging commerce through money and crypto coins, fake money? And it almost seems like the government allows them to start up and do what they do because you're going to have some winners and losers. They're watching their ledger. They got to have some type of. I mean, in this
n-
guy's case, in the Florida case, these were just three guys. They just put a coin in. You sent them the money. It went to their bank.
right, but when you say money, it was crypto even at that point. It was ether or something like that. So to answer your question is no, it's not regulated at that point in time, and it's even
Right.
to this day, it's not really fully clear. They're not clear on whether Bitcoin is a commodity or a security. I believe now it's considered
Well,
a commodity.
it should be whatever it's used for. If it's used to buy food, maybe a commodity. No.
No, if it's used to buy food, it would be a money or currency, right? But it 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 ended up not being used that way. Not many in the beginning. That was the whole point of the white paper. It said
Right.
peer-to-peer cash system. It
Explaining
was
what it's going to be doing.
it
Peer to
was
peer cash means what?
Peer-to-peer cash system means removing Visa, MasterCard, the bank, loans, third parties. If we read the white paper, it says very clearly that no matter what system, when there's a third party involved, they have to mediate. They end up inevitably having to mediate the transaction. And from a merchant's point of view, when you go in and you pay them with dollar bills, right? That's
Okay.
very different than when you pay them with a credit card. The reason is you can ask why. Why is that different? It's
Well,
very
obviously, a credit card is traceable. Cash is not.
It's fungible, right? Cash is fungible. The credit card has all kinds of third parties involved. When you pay with credit card, there is all kinds of fees that the merchant is paying.
Mm-hmm.
At least 3%, may sometimes more, right? Unless you're Amazon, or you might ask the question, why does Amazon have a credit card? Why do they? Because it's a big
Earn money
business.
off of fees. Yeah.
Yes, but they're not a bank. They just brand a credit card with a bank. Even PayPal, I don't think is its own credit card. I think
Now,
it just
now,
brands. Think about and Visa and Mastercard are not the credit card. They're the payment network. They're
right?
the
They're exchange.
they're
They're the exchange. Yeah.
they're just the internet, or whatever
Right.
you call it. Back then, there was no internet back then. So they're the wires that connect. And if you look at the back of a credit card, it has a bank's name, or Bank Core, or there's some bank involved. There's some phone
Right.
number.
Right. Right. There's a form of transactional accounting.
But you go back to the white paper, the peer to peer cash is Bitcoin is supposed to replace, or not replace, but be similar to cash. Very similar to cash. When you perform a Bitcoin transaction, a blockchain transaction on the Bitcoin, let's just say BTC blockchain,
Right.
right? Because there's multiple Bitcoins now too. When you perform that transaction, that's irreversible. You can't. The only way to reverse it is for the receiving address to send you something back.
Right.
Just the way when you hand cash to a merchant, you can't say, "Give me that cash." You can't just go back into the cash register and take it back out. You can't do
Well, he
that.
has it there if you. He has it there if you need to.
No, but you
I
cannot do
understand.
that legally. That's stealing. So
No.
yes,
No.
it is.
What about the word? What about the word return? You
Return. What
bought
is?
something. You want to return it. You want your
Well,
money back.
that's a process. That's not you calling up some third party and saying, "Oh, this thing didn't work. Take the money out of that. Take the cash
Or
out of the cash register and send it back to me." No,
or I
they.
gave you my money, and yesterday my truck broke down, and I need $50,000 in. Okay, we'll send it to you, and then I call you again. We'll send it to you. Our accounting is still working out all that bullshit. So once you get, that's what blew the whistle on this other guy.
I don't know what you're
Somebody,
talking about. Tell me how
no,
that
but what I'm
relates.
saying is,
Yeah.
if you invest in these crypto coins,
Oh yes,
all
yes,
right,
yes. That's back to the Ponzi
and then
scheme.
all of
Right.
a sudden, damn, I need 20 grand. I just gave them 56 million the other day, or the day before. Somebody, when the reason why they get busted is when people want money. When
It's
they
like
want their
any
money.
Ponzi scheme. It works
Right.
on the way up, but it fails. And I love the guy Cliff High who talks about this. He says, "You know what was the biggest bank, the biggest Delaware corporation that had one of these systems? It was in
Mhm.
the trillions probably, and his name was Bernie Madoff. He had a corporation, and he had the exact same thing, and it wasn't millions of dollars, it wasn't tens of millions, hundreds of millions. It was in the, I think, in the multi-billion, right?
Well, he was,
So
what I don't, but what they said about him, and even all of them, when you get that money coming in, it's not like you can't straighten your books out eventually.
no, you can never, because if you're making up everything and you're
But if
saying
you're,
the
but
returns.
if you're making money on the stock market,
No, but he was. he was reliably making like 20% growth every year. If you look, he was just making up everything. In the beginning, there must have been some reality, right?
Yeah, but they
But
were spending a lot of goddamn money too. You know, they were
there
they
were
were
what?
spending
Yeah,
they
there
were
was.
spending people's money that it wasn't theirs. You
Of
know,
course, yeah, that's part of the problem too. Is if you on the paperwork, because there were some ladies involved. This is a tangent, but it's important. There was some ladies involved in this that were interviewed, and some man that lost a lot of money in England. He interviewed these people, and she had all the documents that he had emailed. I mean, letters, all the letters, all the statements.
all the bank
She had
statements, yeah, all the bullshit.
yeah, she had them all because not a lot of people keep them. She had them all in order, and you could see. So you're saying, oh, he could he could come out of it by simply paying back the money, but no, a lot of it was going to his Palm Springs houses. It
That's
went to
what
other people. Yeah,
I'm
so
saying. You could have had the initial principle of the investment somehow or some way,
that's what.
and
Go ahead.
and made the money off the money
No, but
and put that. Yeah,
that's what the bankruptcy court does is they figure out how much capital or I think they call it what is it in the beginning the first part that you put in, right? Not the
you're gonna get your print. What happened with that case? In other cases as well, you're not getting they,
all the
and you know
fake
that.
all the fake
Let me tell
growth.
you
Yeah, yeah. Principle,
the
the
fake growth.
principle.
Look
Yeah.
at me carefully. They had people that owned the Mets. They had this is like a lot of Jewish folks. They had some heavy hitters who made a ton of money. And in some cases, they asked for the profit back from their money. You know what I mean? They made, wait a minute, you invested 10 million and you walked away with 32 million? No, we want something back. You're
Clawback,
not a
right. Yeah.
you're not a victim when you made money, pulled it out, invested, built it, whatever the case may be. And like we said, we're not experts. We're just pondering the thought. But
That
one
you
thing that has been troubling me for the longest time, how do you know who to give your money to? What do you look for? You said you went to Fidelity. And the only reason why you went to Fidelity, and I would like to ask you, do you know where your money is as far as Cryptcoin is in Fidelity? Is it backing one of their investments? Because basically, Fidelity just brought in a whole new money stream.
yeah, yeah.
Are you making any interest off your coin?
Well,
Are they investing in any of their products?
well, we can look at what's happening. It's called FBTC. It's a spot Bitcoin exchange product. So we can look at it, and what I've noticed is it's gone up. So is it real? That's hard to say. That to answer that question, you have to know what happens in the future, and I don't know what's happening in the future. But
You said it went up, right? You said it went up.
yeah, we can look at it. We can do. I can
Okay, so
share my screen.
what if you put 5,000 in and you're showing 8 right now?
Yep, yep.
Would it be a good investor to take out the 3
Of course,
and work?
I
And once you get to a point where it gets you say like you even tilt your investment. You put in 5, it's at 11,000. I'm inclined to take out the 6 because anything else is their money I'm working with. I'm not working with my hard cash. And when you do want to take out money, is it cash, the cash you put in, or you get a coin? What do you get? What do you want to pull? You gave them cash to buy the coin. Now you want to get out.
yeah, you just purely get cash because that U.S. dollars because it is
Because that's what you gave them.
unlike these exchanges that are a little bit sketchy. Fidelity is just a brokerage, and it's an exchange traded product, right? So it is just like a stock. It is a
But it's
security.
volatile. It's volatile. Did they tell you when you invested?
Oh, it's much more volatile, yeah.
You can
But
lose your money.
absolutely, well, that's true of any stock. So you asked a good question. You say, well, let's take the growth out. But if you believe in the long-term growth of it,
That's
then
a fool's belief,
but
knowing that.
no, no, Reggie, listen to this.
All right, I
If
want to listen.
if you do believe in the long-term growth of it, and let's say it's not
Right.
5,000, let's say it's a million, right? And let's say it's doubled a million, right? there are consequences. If you're talking about $5,000, there's not much of a consequence for taking 3,000, right? But if you
Oh,
take, let's say you put in 1 million and it's gone to 3 million. Now,
I want my two. I want my two.
if you take those $2 million, you know what happens, right? There's
What
all
happened?
kinds of capital gains taxes that
Okay,
are,
well, stop right there. That was a
yeah,
setup question because I
yeah.
want to tell you something. And for all of our audience, and even for myself and everybody, the IRS just hired three huge tech companies. They
Really?
just put $8.6 billion into their budget. And all Bitcoin transactions are
Are
taxable.
are public and taxable? Yes, yeah.
Whether you got a private exchange, a private blockchain, Fidelity, you know Fidelity sending you a 1099
Oh,
or whatever they
absolutely.
send you.
Spot
So when
Bitcoin
you
ETF is not even direct Bitcoin. It is a
have to
exchange.
pay
Yeah,
taxes on that money.
absolutely. Yes, yeah.
So you got one of these fraudulent Ponzi schemes going, not to be caught yet. You would only the red flags are what? How do you know as what would be the red flags that you would get nervous about your investment right now, even though it's with Fidelity?
When you mean red flag, you mean the
Are there any
value?
are there any red flags when it comes down to investing in this? What buyer beware, things you want to be careful about?
Well, in general, you have to understand the cryptocurrency market. The thing that fundamentally I think about is inflation, right? The US dollar, we have no control over the US dollar. We owe $48 trillion. We're in the hole. And the reason
So they
why,
say, so they say.
no, no, it's actual fact. I think it's 48 trillion. I don't know the exact number, 34 trillion, whatever. It once it's in the trillions, like billions and trillions. Next it'll be quintillions, and it the problem with that is, and you know the reason our representatives do it that way is because if we actually taxed people by the amount we spend, then our taxes would be enormous. And that would affect people directly. And it would also affect the market, right? If you tax people at 90%, everything you earn, 90% of it give to the federal government so they can
They're there now.
yeah, they're near, no, they're not near, we're very low. If you look at the 80s, I think the upper tax rate was in the 70 or 80% range. Now
Well,
it's in the
people complain.
40% range.
Well, they're complaining about it. Well, they would have just taken it off. But
Yeah,
here's another thing.
yeah.
So, to here's a question. We have these fraudsters, shysters. Anyone can set up a coin because you could just say, do a white paper. We got a coin. Get on the internet. Set up a YouTube channel. Here's my coin.
Yeah, good, good. It's blurry, but I see it.
This coin is going for $100. Would you want to buy in it? And
No.
what somebody we should ask, what is it and what is it backed by? Does that ever come up?
Absolutely. The scam one that we're talking about, in their white paper, they basically, he explained very clearly, Mr. Trapani explained very clearly that they copied a site out in Singapore and it was doing crypto to credit card transactions. So let's say they even had in their white paper or some of their documentation website a credit card with their logo on it and Visa. It said Centra card and it had the Visa logo. And the man who interviewed him, which we can watch, it's on YouTube, said very clearly, you have significant issues in your white paper because you're not you're not registering and marking all the trademarks. And oh well, we have it somewhere on our page, and he says, no, 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 you have to have it in the
Trademark on the legitimate
on Visa.
being.
Visa and MasterCard, whenever you refer to them, and I didn't know this either, is you have to refer to their trademarks. That's why it says Visa and it has the little registered R and T, and down at the bottom it says all rights reserved for Visa and MasterCard. Visa and MasterCard are two separate companies, as far as I
Right.
could tell. And one of them, I think, is here. MasterCard is here in White Plains. And what's happening is the question is, what did they do? What did they promote? In their white paper, they said they had deals with MasterCard, and what did they actually do? I think they tried to call Master, but that doesn't mean you have a deal. You try to call, you can't reach them, so you just assume that they'll deal. And if you listen to Cliff High, who in the YouTube video, he says, uh, "Wait a second, you mean banks have agreed to this?" And well, like
But what? But the deal that they are pitching to the consumers is we are affiliated with an FCC bank that will give people the confidence to know that the money is insured.
but remember, it's Visa and MasterCard. So yes,
I
they
understand
have
that.
a deal with Visa
Every,
and MasterCard. That's what they sold, and it wasn't true. And they promoted some CEO that was in Canada that wasn't true. And both of those are fraud, right? So if and on top of it, there are rules about being a money transmitter. If you
yeah,
look at
deceptive practices is what the rules. Yeah, yeah.
But there's also licenses. You have to be
Right. That's what I'm
licensed
saying. Right, right,
to
right.
be a money transmitter. And
So
and Robinhood, if you go on their site, they have these things, and there's bit license and
and
there's
and
money.
and,
Yeah,
and fidelity.
yeah. Of course, Fidelity is the king of.
And what did you say the other one? The other
There's
blockchain, the one that
there's
they
there's hundreds of them. Coinbase, Kraken,
right.
but only a
But
few of them are legal in New York State, which is a whole nother
I think
topic.
those exchanges are very private. A few of them
They're
because
centralized, privately owned. I think Coinbase is a publicly traded company, but it's a
okay,
private, centrally managed company. It's not like you can look at their database, right?
uh-huh.
Their source is not open source. They don't reveal anything. Everything is a black box from the outside. Of course, they want to appear as if they're decentralized, but they're very centralized. And there's nothing, and they're actually one of the more honest ones, but that's not saying much for
Right.
an industry that has no regulation. The fundamental point is that the New York Stock Exchange and Nasdaq are exchanges. They're not clearinghouses.
Exactly. Their money. Yeah.
They're
I mean, when you
exchanges.
uh-huh.
Clearinghouse is a whole separate. We have to look up the real definition online, Wikipedia, and things like that.
But
But
the key word is exchange. One person invests. They need a mechanism, and you're exchanging for a product or a good or a service. Am I wrong?
Well, the exchange is where the buyer and the seller meet, right?
Right.
And there's
Right.
something called a market maker too. Because let's
Right.
say you go in, no, but all these terms really are important, right? What is a market maker? Because all my life I've heard that. I said, what does that even mean, right? And I think I have a limited understanding of it. Is if you go into Coinbase, right,
Uh-huh.
and you go into their advanced trading option, right?
Okay.
They have the ability to put in a buy order or a sell order at a particular price,
Right.
right?
Once if
And
it dips this low, sell it. If it goes this high, leave it.
exactly
Or
right.
pull dividends out. Yeah.
Right, right. But there's a different type of order, which is called a market order. Let's say
Okay.
you have 100 shares of whatever, Apple stock, and you just want to get rid of it. You enter there and you just click and they give you the highest fee because what you are doing is you're submitting your shares into the market and whatever happens, happens, right? Whatever the current market price is, but do you know that during that instant when you're doing that, there are a lot of things going on there. And there's one fraud called front running. So they see the order, and 100 shares is not a lot. So let's say it was 1 billion shares. Like let's say you were Jeff Bezos and you're selling whatever hundreds of millions of shares of Amazon at one point in time. What is that going to do to the price? Now there's an infinite supply. Some guys put out 1 billion shares of Amazon, and they're just saying whatever you want to pay for it, tell me. And
That's not drops. No,
yeah, it's going to drop like a rock, right? So that's not what Jeff Bezos does. He's probably
but he
got a.
just took some money out. He just took some 10 billion out or
Yes, I
something.
know. It's only 2% or 3% of his holding. He owns a
Right.
lot of Amazon. But the point is there's a whole process to do that. He first of all has to announce it because he's a insider, and then he does it through a program. They don't. I think he announces it, so then we already know it's going to happen. But when it happens, I think it happens slowly. And think about it: the New York Stock Exchange and the Nasdaq are a bit bigger market than cryptocurrency. Let's say you're on a cryptocurrency exchange with the Centra Tech coin, and there's only like 3 or 4 buyers. In the volume exchange is only three. Let's say you're trying to sell your Picasso painting. There's not a lot of people in the world that want it, right? So you might only have one buyer. You have to deal with that one buyer. But the point is, in these small illiquid, they call illiquid meaning there's not many buyers and not many sellers. You
Yeah.
can manipulate things. So let's say this one buyer of the Picasso painting really wants it. You can just drive up your price. You can just keep saying, no. He says, I'll pay you 100 million for it. No, 200 million. No, 300 million. No, 400
So
million.
here,
Right?
well, stop right there for a
Yeah.
minute. Somebody wants to, but we. My question was earlier. Somebody wants to buy something,
Yes.
and he's going to receive something.
Yes, but you asked what does the exchange do? The exchange is not just it's not just that. It's not bringing two people. Obviously, the stock exchange
The
does.
exchange is not to bring you together. The exchange is there for any type of transaction to be held or to be made.
It's
There's a
software.
mechanism. There's a
Yeah,
mechanism. You meet me. It's like the phone. Well, remember they put the wire to the cup to the ear, and then you
yeah.
from
It's
one
so
end to the other end. You know what I'm saying?
It's software, right? I believe,
Right.
because I have limited understanding too, because they're not like very open and transparent about these things. But it's software that matches buyers and sellers. But
Right.
who? No, it also has to do with time. And there's something called front running, and there's also called what's it called? Speed trading or something like that, where the time the distance you are from the exchange matters, right?
Okay. So
Because
stop right there. Stop right there.
yeah.
Explain front running, and I know what you're talking about because there was an issue with the fiber optic cables that was delaying, and they were missing trades by seconds, and it was massive money.
We're
What is
talking about
front running?
milli
I'm talking about
milliseconds. Yeah,
billion
yeah,
dollars worth of stuff. What?
yes, and we're
Well, they only make money off of points. They listen. You
yeah.
got 25 billion,
I
and all
know.
of a sudden something goes up by 2 points. That's millions.
Yeah, yes.
They
If
move
you
on that.
yeah, if
What is
you yeah,
what is front running?
front running. Let's say I'm Jeff Bezos and I'm selling 100 million Amazon stock, right?
Uh-huh.
They get in there. They know the stock is going to drop. So let's say he was buying 100 million, right? Because it makes more sense in a positive way. So let's say they know he's going to go in there and he's going to buy 100 million shares. They're
Hmm.
closer, and this is my understanding because it's called. There's a name for it. It's speed trading, or I forget the exact name for it. But they see the order before everyone else sees it, right?
Right.
So what do? They know the price is going to skyrocket, right? Because this guy's buying 100 million shares of Amazon. I'm doing an extreme case, so they buy it before uh, the order comes in, and then they sell it at a higher price. So basically,
They
front
make it
running.
small points off
They
of
yeah
major money.
yeah front running. You can look it up. Is front running just means that you do the order before the order. Because remember, in the old days, you used to call in the order to a
Yeah.
broker. Well, that guy is going to execute the order. But what if he's corrupt or she's corrupt, and she says, and she or he owns that or
That's
has
why they
cash?
that's
Yeah.
why these investors and these billionaires and millionaires have their own trader on that floor.
Yeah,
There's something.
maybe you're right. Yeah, yeah.
But
But
come
it's
on.
all done electronically now. It's not done by
Well,
people
here's
and
what
charts
was
and
talked
yeah.
about a few years back when it comes down to trading. Certain internet speeds made a huge difference in trading, and we're talking
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah.
Where that these companies, these big time companies were
Yeah.
having these fiber optic cables
Yeah.
installed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was lightning speed,
Yeah.
and before you know it, they were watching the ledger, watching the trading,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, boom! It's who gets there first.
Yeah, and that's
That
why they're close to the exchange. I worked at 120 Broadway, and
uh
one time I came down the elevators, and there's all these odd, shambled people coming out of the elevator from the basement. I think there was a gym down there, but there's also, I believe, a trading floor because this is all murky and I never saw it, so I don't know for a fact. But I asked, who are these people? And somebody, I think, was honest and told me, oh, those are they rent the space because remember, 120 Broadway is right next to the New York Stock Exchange, right?
right.
So there's wires that are running
Those buildings
underneath.
are all connected.
But Reggie, also the distance matters
Right.
because the internet or the
Transmission.
wire,
It's the
nothing can
transmission.
break the speed of light. So
Right.
if you are physically the closest, because they don't allow you right in the New York Stock Exchange, I don't
Right.
think. But if you're in the next building, then you can do this front running more effectively than someone that's in Iowa, for instance, right? Because Iowa has to get transmitted to them, and obviously you're going to get that information before them. We're talking about
Exactly.
yeah.
It's like the internet, you know.
Yeah, it's just like the
I'm,
internet. Yeah, so
yeah.
that's why
So
you have
now,
data centers in multiple places. Yeah, and that's why
so
CDNs exist.
the number one thing you wanted to talk about was these particular three individuals
Market manipulation. Yes,
and
market
the
manipulation.
shenanigans that they did.
Right.
So what is really coming?
So your viewers don't get scammed. Right. Right.
Well, we're not going to allow that. So now what I'm trying to figure out, and and we got to be as real as possible. This is the Facts in the Porcupine Podcast. Your host Reginald Sweeney with our special guest Ralph Rizzo. He's my
Yazo,
personal
Yazo,
friend.
say it right.
Yeah, how do you say your last name, sir?
Yazo, Yazo. Yeah.
Mr. Yazo. Okay,
Yeah.
so Mr. Yazo is an investor. He doesn't tell you what to do, and I don't either. So now, to protect you, here's what I'm seeing. I think I'm just reading a lot of people that got too much damn money that want more.
Or they're early in this crypto game and it's all monopoly money to them. I know some people that sued
They
about
could
this.
just be playing it. They're in it. They got coins. When the if anything happens with a government regulation and it winds up on the stock market, everybody they got it the 4-1. But Matt knows better. I got to talk to Matt. He'll probably get this, and
But
I'll send it over to him and ask him what it was his opinion. And he may hear some things in there that he may want to clarify. That's if
absolutely,
he wants to.
let's have
So
as
now,
the more the
yeah,
merrier.
we got to get him in. You got
But
we'll let him know. I seen him the other day. He's really tied up. He travels a lot.
but
And he's a
but I
good
just
person. He's
but I
honest.
just want to point out that the early days of crypto and Bitcoin, there was no tying back to a person. There was no know your customer
It was
laws.
just floating money in the air.
It
You
was
had a
yeah. Yeah,
you had a you had
you
your
basically had a computer connection
and you
and
had
you
some and you had a list of numbers that allow you to log into your blockchain or your coins. No keys, no coins, or something like that they were saying.
absolutely,
So
I understand that fully, but remember the early days of Bitcoin, people ran the mining software, the Bitcoin Core, on their
right,
computer, and they were
right,
part of the network. And then
right.
every time a block was mined, meaning they found the hash that made it complete, right? That because in order for a block to get onto the blockchain, it has to fit. There's a a hash algorithm that makes sure that it hasn't been manipulated. How do you know that things are true? You have to. If someone sends you a letter, how do you know that someone in between hasn't changed words in that letter?
Well, here's the biggest fraud going on now without even crypto.
What? Tell
Big
me.
construction companies.
Oh yeah, tell me.
Somebody gets a letter saying that, by the way, our company has relocated its office and we changed our bank.
Yeah, that's a type of
Yeah,
fraud.
I
Yeah.
mean, nothing. Somebody got beat. What did the fuck he tell me? Excuse my language. Did he tell me 65,000, 75,000? So listen to this now. So they get this letter. No one, no one. It went through the company's email of maybe 20 people, whatever. These people are doing it's in construction. So a week goes by and they get a phone call from the company that they owe the money. And the guy goes, "Hey, we're still waiting on that check. Did you ever send it out?" They said, "Wait a minute, we electronically wired you this money." It
To
was
a
the wrong
different
company,
to a different
wrong
bank.
company.
To a different
They
bank.
never checked. So what I'm getting at is this. You made an investment. You went with an institution that had a name, that had a foundation, had blah, blah, blah. And that's a Canadian bank as well, Fidelity.
Yes, Fidelity is in Canada also.
88
Yeah,
Bank Fidelity.
yeah, yeah.
You only went with them because have you read your fine print? What if something happens to your investment? Are you able to?
It's a small investment. It's more just to
I get it. You're
understand.
doing
Yeah,
it to be in the game to
to
get a,
to
and you're
understand.
going to
Yeah.
pay taxes on that small investment. Did you earn anything? Because if you didn't earn it, even if now here's what the guy. This is on the show. If you are a crypto investor and you lost money, that's a tax loss.
Yes,
If you're a
absolutely.
crypto investor and you made money, that's capital gains.
In
So
U.S. dollars, if you
and
lost
you
in U.S. dollars,
well,
yeah, yeah,
well
yeah.
the ledgers and the blockchains and the miners are all being watched because, like I just said, the IRS, because all this money, all this immigration, all these people coming in this country are wiring Western Union, all of them, they are getting ready to lock this shit down. And the biggest reason why people are using crypto and all that, because they don't want to pay the taxes.
Well, yeah, but
They want
it's
to
not.
hide the money,
It's not quite. It's a completely
my
transparent.
opinion.
Yes, exactly. But no, I don't think that's true. That it's only that. There's a valid use case. It's the inflation, the hedge against inflation.
You
But
want okay,
but
okay.
but going back to what you said, the blockchain is completely transparent. But remember that all the transparency is in the amounts and in the addresses. There's no names in it. They call it
Mhm, mhm,
pseudonymous, right?
mhm.
But the way our governments get the names is through the know your customer laws. But they only came about much more recently. So there are hundreds of millions, billions of dollars in cryptocurrency that are just tied to addresses, no names. I think we talked about in one of the other shows, there was a young man, 30 years old, 33 years old or so, in Georgia. I think we talked
Mhm.
about his name, James Zong, and
All right.
he was one of the people involved in Bitcoin very early. And you remember there was, and I think I told this story called Silk Road. There was
I
a
remember. Yes,
there's an
yes, yes.
exchange, and this young man, James Zong, must have been. I don't know if I heard of some people that use Silk Road just to store their Bitcoin because they didn't trust storing it themselves. So I don't know if James Zong used it the same way or he was
They were
buying
buying
things
weed and
or
selling stuff
whatever.
and
Yeah, exactly.
all of that. Yeah.
But but what he did, James Zong, I think, was also a programmer, and what he did is he took out his 500 Bitcoin. He had 500 Bitcoin. He had it in Silk Road. He he may have known that there were bugs in the system, and he took out
Click that
and
thing and it kept
yeah,
clicking it,
I
clicking
said
it.
I said that, but I'm not sure of exactly what he did. But that
Well,
was
that's what
this.
they said because if he
Yeah.
didn't use that email, he should have used a different other another email to move those coins, and they would
Well,
have never
he
caught.
made a
That's what
mistake many years later. Yes, but that
well,
had so he ended up with 50,000 Bitcoin that he extracted from
a
Silk
couple of
Road.
$1 billion too.
Now, back then it was hundreds of thousands, but he knew since he was involved and he also was autistic, and you
Hmm.
feel for him too because he was a
That's the
guy.
guy that was in the cabinet by himself with his mother and all of that other good
Not
stuff.
his mother. I don't think his mother, but he was autistic and he had a dog and he lived in Georgia and he did have and he was a person that liked friends and he would help his friends in
Yeah, the
school.
girls.
Yeah,
Find them all over. I remember that
yeah,
you
yeah.
talking.
But I don't think he abused anybody or anything like that. I don't know. But in the end,
He didn't
he
abuse anybody. He just stole everybody's money.
no, wait. Now you're mixing up things because
No,
this
no, I'm
poor
sorry. You're right. You're right.
yeah,
You're right. He
this poor guy,
invested. He
this
he found the glitch,
yeah,
and
this poor
and
guy,
FBI and how
all
he got that.
all he did was extract 50,000 Bitcoin from Silk Road. Silk Road was an underground drug,
Wow. But he
drug
ripped
dark
them
web.
off. That's what the Fed said. The Fed said that even though he found the glitch and clicking, and it kept giving him more and more coins, it wasn't his. Even
It,
though it was a,
yes, I
it was,
agree that
he
that
took it. He took it throughout the system, he took that out of the blockchain, out of the system, and he would have got he would have got away with everything. But then the other thing he did, he called the police because he got robbed. Remember,
well,
somebody broke into
I'm the one that described that right, and I read the
right,
same exact.
right.
Yeah, it was sad. There's a documentary about it, and he had hundreds of millions. I think like
He was
400,
home free.
400,
He was home. He was
maybe
home free.
400. Yeah, 400,000. He even described to the FBI agents or the IRS agents or whoever, the police that came, that they asked him, well, how did you transfer $1 million in cash in the airport? He says, well, I just bought a luggage on Amazon. They said, oh, did you buy a really fancy luggage? He says, no, I ordered it on Amazon, right? So he was
But
going
wait,
through.
let me ask you a question. When he ordered it, did he use a credit card?
Wait, credit card doesn't matter. He had some real cash too, and
I get that.
he
Okay, I
had
get
big
that.
he had Bitcoin that he mined, so he had legal Bitcoin. It's not illegal to own
I'm
Bitcoin.
not saying he didn't. I'm just saying, how did he buy anything? Because Bitcoin, do you
But
get a
he
credit card?
but
How,
he also earned real US dollars too. I'm
well, we
sure he
know
was a
that.
real person. So when he
Okay.
bought a luggage on Amazon, doesn't cost that much, right?
All right.
Like $20. He just orders it on his credit
All right.
card, right?
So
But the point was that he was so honest. He actually told them how he transported because he had millions of dollars in cash too. When one of the troubles
they
with
locked his ass up too.
well, yeah, but remember he only got a year and a day in prison,
And
right?
he had to pay back all that money.
And they took all the money, right? And on top of it, they sold it. And
Exactly.
they sold it at
You know
auction.
they stole that coins too. So listen, we got people listening, and we had a couple of fraud cases coming down the line with people setting up their own coin, BTCs, different things like that. What does somebody, if somebody doesn't, so the person in Florida, these guys in Florida, they did a white paper. They was as bogus as you can be. How did these investors did not check into them?
It goes back to what I said is I believe in this fury or this what's it called? What's it called when people go crazy? The the whatever it's
Crazy.
yeah crazy in this rush to be
Get
in
rich,
yeah get
get
rich,
in.
or they call it FOMO, fear of missing out. The people invested, and remember we talked, I think people in their 20s or 30s, we talked about the chances of them buying a house. Let's say you're saving up for a house, but the house goes from 500,000, 600,000, 7, 8, a million, 2 million, 3 million, and you said, wait, I'm never going to be able to earn enough to.
Any way to make the money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So at that point, you become somewhat desperate and you say, look, hey, I can invest in this coin that says it's going to be the next credit card coin, crypto, whatever, and I'll be a billionaire like that guy James Zong, right? And I just wanted to finish with that James Zong is he only got a year and a day because, in my opinion, what did he do wrong? He took 50,000 Bitcoin from a, a charged criminal, right? At that point he wasn't, but he eventually is in jail, right? The Ross Ulbricht guy, and it was only worth maybe $100,000 at that point. If he had turned it into the FBI, they would have sold it for 100,000. Instead, 10 years later, they get $33 billion. I think we should be shaking the
Exactly.
guy's hand. We should be saying, to the
But what
government,
I want to know, I want to know that the people that invested, whether it be him or the others, if that other gentleman that he got those coins from through that glitch, he got them from somewhere.
yeah, Well, he got them
You know,
from the dark
you
web. Yeah.
have a ledger. So, all right, I bid it in. I have coins. All of a sudden, my coins are wiped out due to this guy shenanigan. Feds come in and they do it. Why can't I prove the fact that I'm a? Oh, well, you know what? That's why you file your taxes, because if you don't have the coin,
No, but when you file your taxes, you only declare capital gains, right? So
right,
it's
but you
not like
declare
you're.
you can declare a loss, whether it's a Bitcoin or
Oh,
whatever. But
absolutely. But the loss
who
is
is
only
sending
off
you
of
your
your income.
who is sending you your statements? How do you get a statement? How do you
That's a
prove that?
That's a good point. There are Coinbases trying to do something like that. There are tax coin crypto sites.
I
So
mean,
that's a
they're
big
gonna.
bit. That's a business you and I should start. Is the tax crypto site?
Well, the gentleman that's doing the taxes in the conversation that we had recently with the IRS and with all these other guys and you, it almost seems like there's floating lost money, but came from real currency. Is what that's
I
my thing.
I don't. I
How
always
do,
hear
wait,
this.
time out. I got this. How do I buy? I want you bought. What did you give Fidelity to get your account? You gave the money, right?
Of course.
How did you open up your account?
Well, I have a Fidelity account, right? And,
Yeah,
and
but
this
you
is not
have
an
one.
advertisement for Fidelity. It's just one. They're
No, we're
one of the
not.
better.
No,
Yeah, yeah,
no. I mean,
yeah.
we're trying to make sure that people, if they interested in getting in, they
Do it the
go
right
into
way. Yeah,
legitimate broker houses or banks that
yeah.
they're slowly building their own blockchain base. But Matt would be good to come on
Yeah,
and
let's
clear
talk
it.
to Matt. I would love to
We're
hear.
trying to make sure that, and from what I got out of this and what I read when I read the other one, you got to be a real stupid ass, or you got to be really have enough money that you can say, you know what, I got this $10,000, I'm gonna play with it.
Yeah, exactly. Fear
Or
of missing out, yeah, or whatever.
no
Yeah.
different than the guy that bought the Trump sneakers for 9,000. The new sneakers that Trump's got, he
Well,
bought it, but
you.
it has value now. He gave somebody 9,000. Now he's got a item that probably would just he could put it on eBay, and you never know, it could go up. Who knows? But what I'm getting at is this: I have $1,000, for instance, and I want to buy a Bitcoin. How do I know where to buy it? Who to deal with? What?
Well, that's a
How do I
good.
know, how do
That's
I know these guys are not just startups, random guys?
well,
Did you get a statement from Fidelity?
oh,
Obviously, you did.
obviously yes, but Fidelity is one of the interesting companies because Vanguard is a big company too, right? Big brokerage, right? Because
Right.
the words matter. Brokerage means something, and exchange means something.
Legitimate. They got
So
to be licensed. They got to have all these credentials.
yeah, and Vanguard is even more unique because it's kind of a cooperative. Like it's not really purely a corporation. I think it's a share owned or and it's similar to I'm a member of the Park Slope Food Co-op, so it's a cooperative. If you look at Vanguard, it has a different structure than typical corporations, I believe. And if some viewers know better, please tell us. But the question is, what is the right way to do it? In my opinion, the decentralized way is the right way to do it, but it scares me.
What do you mean
Decentralized
by
means,
decentralized? That means no government input.
yeah, that means,
You're on
and
your own.
I'm no. What happens in this cryptocurrency world is there's actually things called hardware wallets. I believe that's a bit of overkill for because a computer is hardware, right? And if you take the computer and take it offline and you generate the public keys and the private keys but that requires a good amount of knowledge in programming, right? Not many people are willing or not knowledgeable enough to open up a computer command line and do it. But that's a business that you and I could talk about because offline wallets, that's what they call this cold storage, so held in cold storage.
Offline wallet. Offline
Offline
wallet.
wallet just means that you generate the public and private key offline, right? If it's not connected to the internet, then and the private key, which is just this big giant string, right? It's almost like a password, right? In order to move the Bitcoin, let's just use Bitcoin as an example, from one place to another, right? You need the private key because that's the way the blockchain works. Is
Private. going to open up those funds to be moved, but are you moving it on the blockchain
You have
or
to. Well, that's you started with the question, what's the best way to get
right,
involved,
right,
right?
right?
Well, if you're talking about little bits of money, like $20 or something, there is no right way to do that because if you're, it, no matter what way you do that, it's it's just a toy, right? So you go on to Robinhood app and you buy some crypto there, and you know what Robinhood is doing? There, they say there's no fee, but the fee is in the price because if you go to buy Bitcoin, let's keep it simple. You're going to buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, right? Because let's use the example you did of buying something at a store, right? And you need $100 worth of Bitcoin in order to buy it at the store, right? To what they're going to
Yeah.
but what they're going to do is you're going to get less Bitcoin than if you were on a real exchange because Robinhood is not exactly a real exchange, right? Because I've done the analysis, right? It's called arbitrage. You can
Okay.
look at the prices, the bid and ask prices across exchanges. And if, let's say there's an exchange, and this is how FTX and Sam Bankman Fried made their money, right? One of the ways is they saw that the price of Bitcoin was $10,000 in the US. So they'd buy a Bitcoin here, and of course they do this by computer, so it wasn't humans. And then they knew that the price in Taiwan or South Korea, wherever it was, they're willing to pay $15,000 US for that same Bitcoin. So you buy for 10,000 US dollars here and you sell in Korea for
They,
15,000. So now you're
they
getting
would
you're making 50% or whatever the number is profit every single transaction,
they do
right?
that with Amazon. They buy the product from somewhere else. They sell it on Amazon for $3 or $4 more.
Yes,
So that cut they,
exactly. That's called arbitrage, right? And
right.
and and so, but if you could do that programmatically, right? Then you can make a lot of money. And FTX had all kinds of other problems, like they had the broker, the hedge fund, and the
Uh,
exchange all
my screen
intertwined.
went out for a minute, Ralph. So keep
Okay,
going.
okay,
Keep
okay.
talking.
Yeah. So they had all kinds of other problems because the exchange and the hedge fund were all intertwined, which is wrong. And it goes back to what we were talking about before: is the clearinghouse, the exchange, the hedge fund. There has to be a distance between these. There has to be whatever they call Chinese walls. And so your original question is, what's the right way to do it? For a little bit of money, it you're going to get ripped off no matter what, because what happened in your case, and it's just a minor point, is if you buy it on Robinhood, they're going to give you a higher price, so you get less Bitcoin than if you go on a real closer to the market exchange.
Right.
Do you understand that? Let's say there's let's do it in real world terms, right? There's a store that's selling the exact same sneaker you want. One store is selling it at $120 and the other store is selling it at $100, right?
Right.
Think of those stores as exchanges,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you don't know about this $100 store. It's right across the street, but you don't know about it. So you go into the store and you buy it for $120. But right across the street, so what so you could do what you said is you buy it at the $100 store and then you go to the other store and you sell somebody who's walking in the door. That's front running. You know, oh, you want those sneakers? I got these sneakers. Oh, they're selling for 120. I'll sell it to you for 120 or I'll give you 119, right? That's the real world example, but it's very hard to do in the real world at scale because you can't. First of all, nobody trusts somebody that as you're walking in the door, if somebody tries to sell me sneakers, I'm thinking, is this a scam? What the heck is going on here? What's wrong with these sneakers, right? All right. But in the computer world, that is easy to do at scale, right? And that's what they program. So
Right.
the answer to your question is, what's the right thing to do with $20? I don't know. I don't know. And but
Well,
that's
funny
what
for an example because
$100, whatever it is.
well, here's the deal. The two guys, let's stay on this Florida guys. These guys go to Florida. They set up this coin, and they take somebody else's background and use that for validity of letting
Fraud.
people know,
That's
hey,
fraud. Yeah.
well, identity. it's identity fraud right there. But all in all, they're putting together a fake collage of nothing.
But they actually said at the end that they were trying to actually do it. So it
Whatever
is.
they were doing, whatever they were doing, they're in jail. They took your money. Nobody did anybody get their money back from
Yeah,
what you
well,
know?
I think so. I think in the
Because
end,
the
because
Fed came in and stopped it right before it was nothing left. But 24 million is missing, I think you said, right? 20,
yeah, I don't know the
whatever
exact
amount of
numbers. Yeah,
money
yeah,
they
yeah.
spent on themselves and splurged and did the bullshit, they did it.
Right.
And
And
it wasn't.
the guy
And
describes it.
now,
Yeah, yeah.
how do they figure out who invested? Is there a list of people that invested?
Well, then you have to go to a court because there is a whole proceeding for that, and there's law
Had
firms
to
that
get
make.
some type of, I gave you $30. Where's my receipt? Or where's my coin? Or is it a legitimate website? See, a lot of people are not really, it's like dating a woman or you want to get married. You spend some time to get to know the person, you understand these things. Yet, over the internet, it is dangerous. And I don't see this. The only way I see this stop happening is they have to register with the FCC, no matter what size, whatever. And I think some of them do. I'm not sure. We'll get Matt
Well,
back.
I agree with you that it should be a register.
Registration.
Yeah.
You went with Fidelity because it's a bank behind that broker's house.
It's a brokerage.
That's the
Yeah,
only
yeah,
reason
yeah.
why, and that was your easiest way to get in, so you can learn a little bit more. And I think I got some of your character, how you're not a dumb individual where you would, and then you have savviness on the internet. So you have an advantage because you got the web under control and you know how
I
these
wi-
these things move, to a
I
degree.
to a degree, right? I wish I knew, but
You're not a
we,
mathematician
we
because
should
they're the ones
have
that
we
on the
should have
top.
another one about web search and the future of the web too. Web 3 and decentralized finance. Yeah, yeah.
Are you familiar with that, or do we have to bring
Absolutely.
something?
No, no.
You know
I Yeah.
Well, okay. So then, this segment, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Fact of the Porcupine podcast with my host, Mr. Rizzo. Did I get it
Yazo,
right?
Yazo, Yazo.
Razzle, and this.
Think of it as the Wizard of Oz,
Well,
Yazo. Yeah.
well, well, well. Here's someone that is invested. Here's somebody, and this accountant wanted to know more. He's on Arlington because he does crypto taxes.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, I
He
want to
does
talk to
crypto
him.
taxes because I just did a segment on the IRS where it's up there and it's doing really good for its downloads because they did mention about crypto. You have to file whether you make money or lose money. It's no different than they're looking at it as a transaction. Whether you made money or you didn't make any money, well, it's a loss for trying. Oh, you made money, well, it's a tax for earning, and that's how I see that.
It's right
Uh,
on the form, and it's a capital gain or capital loss. Yeah,
yeah, be one or the other. Um,
but it's
but this
only when there's a transaction. If you don't buy and sell, it's
It's,
exactly like a
it's,
stock. Yeah.
it's there as it is, and that money was taxed already because you invested it and you had to do it. But here's my thing. Um, you know another thing that would be a red flag? Somebody 25 years old, somebody driving a Corvette.
Oh yeah, or the
Yeah,
Lamborghini or something. Yeah, exactly. It
some
goes back
young
to this
Chinese boy went to Manhattan and bought a freaking condo for probably 3 and 4 million, and you think
cash,
nothing
cash,
of it.
cash. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, whatever the hell he did,
yeah.
took the money out, transferred it over to a money order or a bank check.
Yeah, yep. It's
I just
definitely.
think it's a lot more responsibility on the people that are looking into this. And I think that if in fact you got some people that got their money from the way that we're talking about, they probably, got over on something, got a break, got advantage. It's just so risky. But as long as these incidents continue, you won't never get the trust that this platform, the crypto
Well,
FTT.
well,
How do you
BlackRock, and Fidelity are in. So if
Well, the
we,
more you get them in, but they're safer. But when you get a statement, for instance, and you don't have to be personal, it's your personal. Do you get a statement like if you're invested in the stock market, they break it down to where your shares are?
oh,
You get it from you,
oh,
right?
absolutely. It literally the exchange traded product, which people call ETF, spot Bitcoin ETF, is
ETF.
a stock. It's a security, and it's exchanged on, I think, Nasdaq. I have to look at exactly where it's exchanged,
Well,
but
that's
it's
that
just
guy.
like any ETF.
That could be that guy. Oh my God, Global Strategy. What was that name? Oh my God,
Bring them
Micro
on.
Strategy. Micro Strategy. That could
Yes,
be
Michael Saylor. I was going to mention him.
right, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
We had a
MicroStrategy.
we had a conversation with that. I sent this accountant all the Bitcoin conversations because he was trying to figure out if in fact that he had to help a client out, where would he go? And they said the ledgers are public and this and that.
Yeah,
But
the but it's only address. It's no name. There's no names in the ledger.
maybe
But if
only
you but if you
that's how.
publish your address, it's
Yeah.
okay. If you publish your address on a website and you have your name there, then obviously we know that that address. For instance, there's some guy
Well,
that was
if you put once you put your numbers on there, they're gonna take your coins. I mean, you don't put out
no, you
the
don't put your private key. But the
yeah,
way people accept Bitcoin is you have to give your public address. So there's not,
real.
yeah, that's because think about it, just the
Is that
way.
from the miners? Who's giving you that address? The miner or who
No,
gives you
no,
that?
no. When you generate the wallet software, I can show, we can do a whole video on just generating
Okay.
addresses. I'm going to, and we can also talk about best practice for
That's what
generating
we're trying to
addresses.
say.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So let's come away with something
yeah,
that
yeah. Maybe we'll
we
pause
know.
here and yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Because we what are we at now?
we're over an
Uh,
hour, I think.
we're at yeah. So you didn't get knocked off. So
Yeah,
remember.
something's
So,
wrong with this
yeah, yeah.
this meetup.
So buyer beware in respect to a new coin. I think if a new coin hits the market, there's multiple coins out there. And the only reason why there's multiple coins out there is because people can make their own minor blockchain ledger, right? You can, if you have that ability,
Absolutely. I was watching a video today, and all you do is clone if you want to make a clone of Bitcoin, right? You
right,
just
right.
clone it. You edit some file that talks about you can make your own blockchain, which is even
But is
better.
that legal what you're
Of course,
doing?
it's legal. That's your
And
software.
but you just don't have to register with the government.
No, you don't have to register with the government to
No,
run
that's what I said.
software.
I get it.
It's
And then
it's as soon if people are operating in this funny money, just the way when you fly, you get frequent flyer miles. That's not
mhm,
considered currency. That's not considered
travel
the
miles that you
yeah.
can use
The
for business.
airlines don't have to register as a Federal Reserve or in the same cryptocurrency has no value except the value that the people place on it, right?
I
What
get
is the current price of Bitcoin? That's what people in a market where are willing to buy and sell, transact at that price at this point in time. That's all the price is. It's the current.
to
Uh,
you, little man.
well,
Yeah.
yes, cool, my son, but
He's getting tall too, bro.
it's also has to be an arm's length transaction. It cannot
Right.
be an inside like that deal where the guy's manipulating the price and he's both buying and selling.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the auction. You get a guy in the auction over there. He's your
yeah,
friend. Get
yeah,
another guy, and
yeah.
your piece comes up. Everything, $5. Have it.
But
$10.
but
Have
it
it.
but an
Yeah.
auction is a little bit different because that's a
Same kind.
one-time non-fungible thing, right?
Yeah, but you're still driving the price up.
But it's driving the price up. But let's say there was a work of art and you buy it from yourself. You drive the price up to whatever, and the guy is you're both inside, and they drive the price up to 100 million, and the transaction happens. You didn't benefit from that. All that happened was you did not sell it. Right? You just bought it yourself. And that $100,000 you owe to yourself. Nobody benefits from that. But
Well, wait a minute now. Hold on. I was using this analysis as is. I go into auction house and say the first starting bid is 1,000.
right,
The seller wants 1,000,
right.
and from that benchmark, it goes up to whatever it stops at. You made more than what you
But
expected.
if you drive the price up with insiders, like two guys bidding the price up, and then somebody else comes along and bids higher, then yes,
Yeah,
you made some money on that.
yeah.
And that is also market
It's
manipulation.
like that storage show that they go and they open up empty
Yeah,
storage containers,
yeah,
they peek in and they bet, hey, and
yeah,
then somebody, lo and
yeah.
behold,
That is
they buy it. Yeah,
but somebody had to buy at a higher price. But in the case where he was driving up the price of this Centra coin, it's not non-fungible. It is fungible, meaning there's a large supply of it. And so once the exchange sees that there's a deal that went off at $2.50, then people, rightfully so, say that's the current price, right? There should be something. See, here's the issue with that is if there was a buy order, an ask, not a buy order, but an ask, somebody asking for $2 and a penny, right? Let's
Mhm.
say there's a whole bunch of people saying $2 and a penny, $2.02. There's a million coins there, right? A
So that
million
benchmark is
coin.
right there,
Yeah,
201.
there's no way the person should be able to buy at $2.50. They have to, the exchange should not allow someone to buy at $2.50. They have to get the better deal, right?
So you
The
don't have
exchange.
the volume. You don't. It may go up that 250, but the
No, you
system
can
doesn't.
put in, yeah, you can put in any ask you want, but there's no way the exchange should allow someone to buy at that higher level when there's askers at a lower level, right? That's the whole point of an
Oh.
exchange because that's a
Mhm.
criminal exchange allowing that,
Mhm.
right? Or a defective exchange, right?
Well,
So if there's people and in order for that person to get the price up that high, let's say there's a million share or a million coins that were offered at a lower price. He would have to buy all those, right? And give that money, real money, to real people, not to himself, right? And then he's able to raise the price. So he'd have to have a lot of capital and he'd be
mhm.
losing money. He'd be losing a fortune because when that whole stuff collapses, because he knows better than anyone that the whole thing's a sham, right? And 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 so he would have to be using all of his money to fill up the order book in order to get to that 250 price and and buy there and no one would do that because that's the why the New York Stock Exchange, if you go on the New York Stock Exchange and you could see
Mhm.
the order book, you would see somebody trying to buy Tesla for $1,000 a share. But that doesn't mean it's ever going to be executed. Never. No, no, I mean sell. Let's say they want to sell Tesla. Tesla selling is trading at $200 a share, right? I can
Mhm.
put in a ask. If I own Tesla, I can say, I'm only going to sell if I get $1,000 a share, right? But do you think anybody's going to take that?
I don't think
No,
so.
absolutely not. If it's selling at $200 a share, then why would
You
I
want to
buy
get
it?
in low and you want to get out high.
Yeah, yes, but the point is, if you want to try to manipulate the New York Stock Exchange, it takes an infinite amount of money, and you got to lose all that money. In order to drive the price up, so anytime there's a lot of buy orders, it drives the price up, right? But
Mhm.
that's happening between two distinct parties, an arm's length transaction. So if
Okay.
you know that Tesla is a scam, let's not use Tesla, let's use Central Coin. You know it's a scam. Would you pump some of your real money into it at a high price and just
No.
keep pumping in order to get the price higher? I don't think
Mhm.
so. I don't think because you're not dealing with yourself there. You're dealing with other people, and they're going to want their money. They're going to want their real coins or whatever it is.
My screen, I keep hitting something on the floor.
Yeah,
So
it's
now
okay. Let's
listen,
pause
the
when you're ready.
takeaway for today's conversation, you can you're in it, you're using Fidelity, this kind of safe. We I learned well as we spoke because I when I was reading that other article, because once you pull down on the internet, you got several people getting caught. You got to
Oh,
really you got to do your research.
oh.
I would, and then these holding companies hide behind this. It's almost like a fool's game to the point where that you're not dealing with an institution that is coming online to be involved with the Bitcoin. Anybody can create a blockchain. Me and you are talking about it. But if we created one, we would just be exchanging our money to us.
No, if you create one, the hard part, it's just like the guy who lived here in Brooklyn and killed himself, Aaron Schwartz, said, in the beginning, remember, there was RCA in broadcasting, and there were very few broadcasters, right? And there were a lot of listeners. Think about
Oh,
the old televisions or the old radio, because remember, there was no internet. There were radio programs. This is before my time, so I just
right,
heard
right,
of stories of the Lone Ranger, and everybody would
right.
crowd around the big giant radio that was the size of the living room, and they'd
Yeah.
listen to the Lone Ranger and I think Gunsmoke and whatever other stories.
Oh,
Remember, there was a guy Cannon, I forget his name, and
yeah,
he had
yeah,
a
yeah.
deep voice, but then he became on TV and was this big fat guy. He didn't know from his voice. He had a great voice, and so there were very few broadcasters. I mean, there were very few broadcasters, and there were many, 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 many millions of listeners. Then what happened is we got cable television, right? Eventually we got television, and then we got cable television. And now we have 100 channels. Before there were like 10 channels. Remember NBC, CBS? There were really only like 3 channels, right? And millions of listeners, hundreds of millions of listeners. Then with cable, it expanded to maybe 100 channels and still hundreds of millions of listeners. With the
all right.
internet, so the power was in the broadcast, right? You didn't have much choice. You had 2 channels, 3 channels, 100 channels, whatever. But now with the internet, it's flipped on its head, right? Everybody and their brother, even you and I, are broadcasting.
Yeah.
But the power is not in the broadcast. The power is in who gets heard, who is listened to,
And who
right?
gets out there?
And
Yes,
who
yes.
gets out there. And how is that controlled? By
But you know, there was
by
a
Google and search engines and
and a
the
whole lot of
AI
other.
and yeah, and that's the important thing now, not broadcasting.
Now that one last point here before we get off, there was a like I said that football fever. I think it was 2018, whatever the country it was. These vendors were hired through the World Cup people vending. He decided to he got in the book, got on the stadium, his name and all that, and he started a Bitcoin that just took off.
Is
And
this
after that soccer game was over, everybody was over and they lost their money. But I think this came out of Australia,
of course
this
well
VA.
a
He
lot
chased that money down. He couldn't get the currency, but he got all the extravagant cars. And there's a conference that these particular people that we're talking about every year they host and they brag about how they ripped your asses off.
there's probably multiple conferences, right? And
And
let's
yeah,
tie this up, but I love it.
yeah, let's
Let's
get
talk
it. Let's
more about that. And it might have been involved with FTX. If you give me, I can look it up on the internet. But the soccer, it's there's many promotions. These Central Coin guys, you know who they used as a promoter is Floyd Mayweather or Merriweather. What's his name? The boxer.
well, the boxer Floyd Mayweather, he has his money into a whole lot of
and
stuff.
and they described it. They said they had like 10 minutes of his time. They pay him $1 million. They give him a script, and he reads the script, and that's it. He's out.
Well,
He
that's
got
why
his.
some of them are being sued because they promoted this product
Yeah, they
that
should
was
be.
fraudulent, and they're claiming that they're victims, but yet they got paid to
Million.
speak that promo
Yeah, yeah,
conversation.
yeah. I
So
think.
hey, man, this
Yeah,
is great.
yeah. Let's
Well,
pass. Peace out.
all right. Well, this is the Facts and the Porcupine Podcast. Your host, Mr. Rizzo, is
Yazo, Yazo, close enough.
Yazo. Yazo. I'm gonna get it right.
Yeah.
The host Reginald Sweeney from the Facts and the Porcupine Podcast. He has some stuff on his mind. We were talking about these young men that got indicted. One is turning state evidence against the other guy. The other guy's in jail. It's a couple of millions of dollars. And it's funny because if you look at the jail time of what Sam Bankman-Fried is not in jail, is he?
Oh,
He's
yes,
in
he
jail.
is in jail. We biked past the detention center. I even asked one of the
On
guys.
4th Avenue
Yeah, the
or
fourth,
3rd Avenue over
Third
there.
Avenue. Yeah, that strange place. It's
Yeah, it's
practically.
great. That's where they had Chapo.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
and I
know.
go over there that's Industry City, man. You can walk right there.
Yeah, it's right next to
It's
Industry
on
City.
18th or 26th Street or whatever that they turned those warehouses into a federal max
When
prison
did
over
they
there.
do that? Because I
They
didn't
did
know
that
that.
about 10 years ago.
Uh,
I saw when they were doing it. We didn't know what it was. And yeah, they're in there nice and cozy.
It's
And then you
barely
got,
marked. You got to really look for the Bureau
oh
of
no,
Prisons.
they don't want your ass over. That's the feds. The feds don't broadcast.
There was a guy.
And that shit is a hellhole from what I'm hearing.
There was
And
a guy walking.
United,
Go ahead, sorry.
after you, go ahead.
There was a guy walking out when we biked there, my friend and I said, "Is SFB or SBF? Is he in there?" He looked at me. He says, SBF? What is it? Sam Brankman-Fried? Is he inside? He says, "Well, I don't work here." He said, so I don't know.
He
You
was
have to ask the guy back then.
probably coming to visit. He was probably visiting somebody. But
Yeah,
at the same time, well, we're going to keep unpacking these things. So this conversation and the one earlier was about these young men defrauding investors, getting busted, getting caught, and we'll be a little more topic focused the next time because we go all over the place with this. But it
yeah.
is
Let's do
something.
the blockchain next. Yeah,
So you want to do the blockchain?
yeah, and
Maybe
search
we'll get.
engines. Yeah.
Well, you know what? What's your forte? Because you're a programmer.
Well,
What you
I'm actually programming search engine tools. So it goes back to what we were saying. How do you get heard now? It has to do with billions and billions and billions and billions of searches every day. And of course, AI is supposedly going to take over, but it all boils down to still searching, right? And words and yeah, I don't know if you have a Google Home or whatever the other ones are called. I just talk and ask questions all the time, right? And it's always answering me. And I thought this guy, Cliff High, was good because he said, I don't know about you, but I grew up in a library system, he said,
right?
where you couldn't just ask a question to anything. You had to have
You have to
books.
go read it. You got to go
Yeah, you
read it.
had to go read it, and you had to go to the library, and you had to remember things. And that was a completely different world where people now you can just. I remember I knew about talking to Google early, right? And I would say, okay, Google did it because I always attended the Google things,
You're
and
a
the
Google man. You're a good
right.
man. You got it
Yeah, and what happened, and you have to say, okay, G now, because if I say it, it wakes up. You saw it woke up the screen. Uh,
right.
but at G, they say, okay, G, instead of, so that doesn't wake up the thing. But the point is, I started hearing kids doing it. And literally, I was sending a text message with my friend, and I just talked it. I talked, send a text message, blah, 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 and and I noticed right afterwards, he started doing that. My friend started doing that.
Oh, they
So
got
it's
scammed. They got
contagious.
scammed. They learning. They learning how to do this stuff.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
contagious, and that's the future is the web. And so one of the things that's important about that is how do you get your stuff out there and indexed by the search engines? I think it's still very, very important to do that, and so we could talk about that next time.
all right. Well, hey, we're going to end it off right there. We were just wanted to make sure that it may seem a little crazy, and we talked about a lot, but all in all, for me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to pin these guys down to if I give you my money and you give me a coin and I want my money back, it should be there.
And it should grow, and it shouldn't be a scam. Right, right. But again, this is not financial advice, it's just education.
Without a doubt, we're not experts. We just it's an open conversation. He is actually in the game. And then they were telling me, and we'll pick this up later. They were telling me that we can buy a percentage of a coin. So for those, the Bitcoins cost so much money. And then the other guy that was talking on MicroStrategy side, he was saying that you don't have to buy a whole coin that's worth $1 million. You can buy a portion of the coin to
It
get
has
in.
to be, yeah, because there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin if we talk about Bitcoin. And obviously, 21
21
million,
million.
21 million. It's going to be broken up. It already is broken up into a millionth of a
That's
coin.
not a lot of coins because we got about, well, how many people we got on the planet?
Right, but it's broken up because think about it. A penny was an arbitrary way to break things up, right? What they broke up Bitcoin into a million pieces. So every Bitcoin is broke up into a million. So if you
Okay.
take 10 to the 6 times 10 to the 20, what did we say? 10, what did we say? 21 million. So 10 to the 6 times 10 to the 6th is 10 to the 12th, right? Times 21 is 21
That's
times
why
10 to
you
the
need a mathematician.
that
That's why they're out here.
10
That's
to
what
the
they do.
10 to the
10 to
12th
the,
is a lot of pennies. Is a lot
and that's
of if you're going to
not a guy.
consider them dollars or whatever. It, but the cool thing about it is if you hear Jamie Dimon saying, well, they're going to increase the amount of Bitcoin, they're going to change that 21 million, but I hope not, and I think not, because the whole point of this is if you earn money in dollars, it's losing value day after day after day after day. And if you earn money in Bitcoin, it's gaining value day after day after day after day, theoretically, right? But and why is it doing that? One of the reasons is that the dollar keeps losing value, right? And more people are going to wake up and say, I want to be paid in Bitcoin. I want to, and the merchants obviously want to be paid in Bitcoin because they don't particularly like dollars because somebody could come into the store and rob them of the dollars, right? And it becomes somewhat of a hassle of depositing those dollars. You heard of the Second Avenue Deli case where the guy would deposit the dollars, right? Because at the end of the day, if they have $100,000 worth of dollars, right, they have to deposit it somewhere, right? You can't just keep it in the back of the store, right? And what happened? The guy got killed because he had a daily run where he would take the money and they killed him and took the money,
Well,
right?
they knew that he was took
Yeah,
money.
they
He
cased the
had,
joint. Yeah, they
yeah,
cased it.
yeah,
Yeah.
they do that around here. All
Hey,
right. Well, we could talk for days. In the
yes.
next,
Yeah.
we'll
Let's
have a
peace out.
perfect. This is just breaking water, breaking ice, and we want to thank you, Mr. Rizzo.
Yazo. Just use wizard.
Yazo,
Here,
Yazo.
let's
I got
practice.
it now.
Let's
Yazo.
yeah, Yazo as in Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I got
Yazo.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yazo.
yeah,
And
yeah.
this is Reggie Sweeney from the Facts and Porcupine Podcast. I want to thank everybody that's paying attention, listening in, and hopefully we can give you some information. This layman turns on not to get ripped off, not to watch out for it. I don't have no investments. I don't have nothing. I really don't have any money. But for those people that are losing money, I mean, damn, you must have money because I don't want to lose anything. So we're gonna end it here,
Peace
and
out.
this is gonna be on YouTube. And he's got his peace sign up, and I got mine. So let me get it off here, and we talk a little bit later. Right, Yazo, I got it
Yeah.
right.
Good, good. Mr. Sweeney, thank you. Bye.
All right, always.
Peace out.
All right.
Bye.
Yes, sir.
Bye. Oh, I hope this works.